Hello everybody, welcome back for another Infinite Lagrange tutorial video. Today we're going to be talking about something a little bit different. Experience. Now, as some of you may or may not know, every ship in the game has a different amount of experience that is required to level it up and gain tech points. This value changes based on the classification of ship, going from the lowest for fighters all the way up to the highest for carriers and battlecruisers. Today we will be using my ST-59 as an example ship in order to showcase the best ways to gain experience on these big, heavy, slow ships. Now, most ships in the game you can gain experience one of two ways, either through combat with NPCs or players, or by using these little microchips in order to add experience to the ship. Now, what is not commonly understood is how experience is actually gained in combat with players and NPCs. The more damage a ship does in combat, the more experience that it gains. This seems relatively intuitive. However, when you increase the damage output of a weapon system, you also effectively increase its experience gain in battle. Now here, we have no upgrades at all on our ST-59's weapons. Just some minor module adjustment stuff, which most of them don't even have that. Now, we have gone ahead and sent out a fleet containing 4 ST-59s and 10 Tundra Logistics destroyers, just to keep them topped up. They are kind of expensive and take forever to build after all. We are heading towards a pair of low-level NPCs. In 2 minutes we will engage in combat, destroy both of these fleets hopefully, and then I will be able to show you exactly how much experience we gained from this battle. At that point, we will go through and we will respec the tech points we already have from our defenses into our offenses, along with upgrading as many of the weapon systems as we can by using our remaining tech points and weapon techs. Now, as I mentioned before, the experience amount gained varies based on the size of ship. For example, the Quantum Scout here requires a mere 4,720 in order to level it up to level 1. If I was to go ahead and just dump all my tech points chips that I have here, you can see that I could actually very easily bring it up almost to level 50. That 818,000 experience, however, if I were to use on something like this Mare Tranquillatus frigate, only gives 36 levels. If I go up to the destroyers, only 23 levels. And it just keeps going down from there. By the time you get all the way up to the battle cruisers, such as this one here, it is only 15 levels. Even if I were to add these battle cruiser specific ones, I still could only get it to level 21 with over 1 million experience gained. Now it looks like our fleet has entered battle, so let's go ahead and take a look and see how it's doing. Beautiful. As you can see here, the ST-59 does not do a whole heck of a lot of damage by itself, and even with 4 of them and the supporting firepower, it's still going to take me quite a bit of time in order to actually get rid of all these NPCs. But on the plus side, my logistics destroyers are doing a fantastic job of keeping everything alive. Trying to figure out where my logistics are actually going right now. Looks like all my repairs are currently on my battle cruisers. Yep, they are currently on the battle cruisers. Well, that's a good thing, I suppose. Although I do want to make sure I don't lose either of these tundras. But if I do, I do. It's not the end of the world. They're quick to rebuild. Now, while this combat goes on, I'm going to go ahead and go talk about another important tactic for combat and for farming experience. And that is surgical strikes. In a recent expansion, we were given an upgrade to certain classes of ships that can carry fighters and corvettes. For example, the Jaeger, the Predator, which is not in active service, so it's down here. Additionally, the Solar Whale, which has the surgical strike for free by default, but can be upgraded to a better version with much further range and AoE. More on that in another video when I talk in depth on carriers. Additionally, certain destroyers, such as the Ceres aircraft destroyer, gain the ability to use a surgical strike. However, it is a very weak version which has a very low range and small cone. But sometimes that can be a benefit. Now, when you launch a surgical strike, all the aircraft in all of the ships in your fleet leave and become unavailable for combat for the duration of the strike. However, because they separate from the ships, when they go to fight the NPCs, they are doing 100% of the damage to the enemy ships, and your main weapons on your ships, such as these ones right here, are not. That means that if you are using a whole bunch of hard-hitting fighters and corvettes, such as the Nebula Chasers, Red Beasts, and my personal favorite, the Vitas B-10, look at that damage. These ships will do a lot of damage very quickly and rack up a lot of experience very quickly. As you can see, my Vitas is actually maxed out for experience that I can get from combat. Now, there is a maximum number that you can gain of experience for PvE, and that number is 30. Once you hit level 30, this gray number over here, you can no longer gain experience from PvE and can only continue to level up your ships through either using microchips like this, or by engaging in PvP once a certain level is unlocked in the galaxy. At the end of every season, or server if you prefer, all of the experience that your ships have acquired is wiped out and you have to start over from zero. Now, that being said, your permanent tech points, the ones in white here, will stick around and you do not have to worry about them, but you will have to go ahead and put them back in whatever systems you had them in. At the beginning of a new server, it is highly advised that you take your fleets out and actually engage low-level NPC fleets, so level 1 and level 2 fleets that'll be around your base. As you build more and more ships, it is advised that you continue to fight with those ships to bring all of your ships that you plan to use up to at least level 10 to 15 as quickly as possible. This is because PvP will actually result in a lot of losses for you, And so having your ships at a higher level early on means you will lose far less ships overall. Now, unfortunately, it looks like one of my allies here decided he wanted to level up his fighters by using a surgical strike, which you can see here. But that is okay. We only needed the one target. We'll go after probably one of these more dangerous fleets. Now, if we look here at these two battle reports, I think unfortunately my ally did contribute to this one. No, he did not. Okay, good. So we see here that my Tundras did very little anti-ship damage, which means they barely contributed at all. Most of the damage was done by the ST-59. It did 130.2 thousand damage, and it was rewarded with 22.1 thousand experience. In the second battle, it only managed to do 68,000 because my ally's airstrike had completed, and it was only given 6,000 experience because of it. But that's okay. Now we will go ahead and go into our blueprints and make our adjustments. I think we're going to focus on the assault railgun. Hit rate, damage. We'll go ahead and give it all of these damage bonuses. And then we'll go into our regular cannons and pick up a couple rate of fire bonuses for them. Pro tip, if you are leveling up systems and the system only costs 1 tech point to level it up, it is advised that you actually spend your tech points on all of the upgrades that only cost level 1, and then go back and spend on the ones that cost 2 or more. Had I spent 2 points on this instead of only 1 point, this would be level 3 out of 5, and this would be 0. Instead, I have 2 at 2 out of 5, which results in an 8% increase in the overall damage, as well as a 6% rate of fire increases. Now, as you can see here, we have managed to increase the damage of our main weapon by 48%, and the damage of our secondary weapons by a not insignificant 25%. I am also going to just go ahead and upgrade these guns a little bit. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, it's not much, but every little bit helps. Now our total DPS has climbed to 26,199. Sorry, I meant DPM. Damage in this game is calculated in damage per minute and not damage per second. Now we need to find ourselves a target. However, since this target was destroyed, we are going to need to find ourselves something else. And it looks like these NPCs are going to oblige us. Oh, is he no longer doing a surgical strike? Well, that's unfortunate, but okay. Well, since the Allies, or the enemy fleet, has decided to come to us, I think it would only be fair that we wait for them to arrive. Now, unfortunately, this fleet will destroy us quite handedly, so we are going to send a second Allied fleet in order to assist us. This unfortunately will change the amount of time that we spend in combat and of course decrease the amount of overall experience that our ST-59s gain, but we should be able to draw a nice comparison between the damage dealt and the experience gained. In fact, just to try and help out a little bit more, we are going to do this. Okay. Now then. Oh, somehow this fleet engaged first. Not sure how it did, but okay. I'm going to go ahead and retreat that fleet. We do not want to take a whole bunch of casualties from a glass cannon fleet like that. Let's see, we only lost a couple Hussars and a Zeno. That's okay. Very minimal losses. And now we can turn around and actually attack it again. By doing this, the tank fleet, the one right here, is engaged in combat. And so the second fleet will come in from the side in order to fight. Now we sent 5 reinforcement CAS 66s because these will now go in the front row, and they will take the initial fire of all the projectile weapons from the enemy fleet. However, missiles, as you see here, continue to fly and will hit our back row ships, such as our Tundras and Guardians. This fleet does not have any Guardians, only has Tundras, and they are getting absolutely destroyed. But, again, that is to be expected. This is a level 11 fleet, and level 11 fleets are not to be trifled with. We'll go ahead and reinforce them with some extra damage carrier or cruisers. And we'll watch the fireworks. Now hopefully our ST-59s don't die and they merely retreat. The rest of this can die and it's no big deal, but the ST-59s do take quite a while to replace. Oh, goodbye CAS. Goodbye Tundra. We'll keep an eye on our ST-59s, and once we lose one, we will consider sending the rest of the fleet back. We'll let one get destroyed, one get low, and then we will retreat the fleet and see what we did. In the meantime, let's enjoy the cinematics. Looks like we might lose two ST-59s at the same time. A little unfortunate, but sometimes that's just how it happens. Looks like that one is retreating. However, this one is being destroyed. So we did lose one, but that's okay. Losing an ST-59 in the name of science is perfectly acceptable in my opinion. Oh, it looks like we've gotten rid of all the tanky ships over here, so now they're bleeding ships really fast to the flanking fleet. Unfortunately, I do not think it will be quick enough to save this ST-59 from dying. No, I take that back. It will. They are bleeding really quickly. That is the power of having fully upgraded DPS ships like the Quar Cannon Destroyer and my Vitas Bs. Look at that, just deleted. Alright. Not great, but not terrible. We'll go ahead and retreat our fleets to make sure they don't accidentally get left out and killed. It has happened once or twice, we'll say. Alright, let's take a look and see what we got for experience. Alright, we see here that our ST-59s gained 68,000 experience, and they inflicted 184,000 damage over the course of the 6 minutes. Now it is worth noting that for about 2 minutes of that fight, 2 of these ST-59s were dead, and it looks like one of the ST-59s had its propulsion system damaged. That explains why it died instead of retreating. Very unfortunate. Now if we go ahead and take a look at this battle here, we see that we inflicted a grand total of 68,000 damage, and we were rewarded with only 6,000 experience. It's not a lot. this one we did 184,000 damage, and we gained 68,000 experience. Now you might be asking yourself, why the difference? Why is it so much higher? Well, we did increase our overall damage per minute by somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 to 40%. The targets that we were shooting at also had a lot of armor, so the damage we inflicted was actually a lot less. That is to say, if a target has 200 armor, and we shoot it with a weapon that does 400 damage, we only inflict about 200 damage for that shot, and that is what's recorded here. So even though the damage inflicted says 184,000, it's safe to say that a good chunk of that damage was actually absorbed by armor on the heavier targets in this fleet. Targets such as the Taurus offensive type, Cass artillery, and especially the Chimera heavy cannon. Well, that about wraps it up for gaining experience with ships. I hope you guys found that very enlightening, and if you didn't learn, or if you learned something, please leave a comment below and let me know. If you have more questions, as always, you can reach me on the Infinite Lagrange Discord, or by leaving a comment in this video, and I will reply to you as quickly as I can. Thank you guys very much, and I will see you next time.